Oh, I just wanted to sit down and talk with you just for a little bit. I was reading in Philippians these past few days, and chapter 4 is just a powerful chapter, and I just wanted to read a few verses with you, if you wouldn't mind, starting with verse 11. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. To be content in all circumstances. Am I content in all circumstances? I would have to say at this moment, no. That's why the word secret stuck out to me. Paul says, I found the secret to being content in all circumstances. How can we be content in all circumstances? Well, it comes from the famous verse that we know in Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. My strength, my security, my safety, my salvation only comes from one place. I have to remind myself that the only way I'm going to get through this life, the only way I'm going to be content in all circumstances, listen to the word all, not when things are going well, not when things are going according to plan. You see, here's the problem that I'm seeing is so many of us are not content with how things are going that we begin to make up our own minds of why that is. It's not our fault, right, that we're not content. It's not our fault that we're in the circumstances that we're in. So somebody's got to be to blame. It's got to be their fault, whoever they is. It's got to be his fault, her fault, that you are in the circumstances that you're in. But Paul says, I've learned the secret. His secret, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Now, I know some of you are in some horrible circumstances. My friends and my church family that I grew up in Midland, Michigan, completely underwater right now. I can't imagine to have this idea of COVID-19 on my brain and wondering if we're going to make it through, only to have my house completely wiped out, wondering if my kids are going to have a place to sleep, wondering if I'm going to be able to return back to my home. I don't know how to handle that circumstance. I don't know if I could be content in those circumstances. But Paul says, I found the secret. While he's in chains, he's writing this. While he's in trouble. While he's in prison for doing absolutely nothing except for sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he's content. Because he knows that only Christ can give him the strength that he needs to be able to make it through. I'm not downplaying the circumstances that you're in. I will never do that. As your friend, as someone who cares about you deeply, what I'm wanting us to understand is let us not jump to conclusions to make up our mind about why we're going through the circumstances that we're going through. Let's try to understand why God is allowing these things to happen. We always try to come to this rationalization of why we're in suffering. But what Jesus understood and what he showed us and modeled to us is exactly what Paul is saying, that my hope and my faith and my security and my salvation, everything that I need only comes from the Father. And I want that for you and I want that for us. The secret to being content in all circumstances is understanding that the strength that I need to get through the times that I'm suffering through right now is only found through Jesus Christ. I want that to be our promise. I want that to be our hope this morning. I want that for my people and my friends who I love desperately in Midland and living in Sanford, Michigan right now. My hope is that God would give you his peace and his comfort. And you may not understand your circumstance. I don't understand it myself. But I'm asking that I would learn in my own heart, in my own life, no matter the circumstances that I'm in, that I'm being content. And the secret being, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. May you find your strength, your safety, your salvation only in Jesus Christ. And may we not always try to rationalize and come up with the idea of why we're experiencing the things that we're experiencing, the wrath of God, or we've done something wrong, we're out of the will of God. I don't know the answer to all that. But what I do know is that in the time of our circumstance, if we have the hope of Jesus Christ in our hearts and in our lives, He will give us exactly what we need to make it through our circumstances, to allow us to be content in all circumstances.